Hey, this is Brandon Smitley from EliteFTS.com, BrandonSmitley.com, and NutraBio.com. I got a question on Facebook about how to set up the bands for the squat, bench, and deadlift. I'm assuming that you have a rack that doesn't have band pegs at the top or the bottom, and Brinson actually said that he had the short yellows, but he actually does on all the bands. He did not set them up. So I'm going to go through each lift individually of how you can set them up using primarily dumbbells as your primary aim. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take two heavy dumbbells, preferably hex dumbbells, and you're going to set them side by side so they're unable to move or roll against each other. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your bands, get mine from EliteFTS.com. These are the light long bands. This is what I use to squat for my speed squats, and I'm a 400 to 500 pound squatter, so that just gives you an idea of band tension wise. What you can do is you're going to run them through so they're like that. They're going to be side by side. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take the back, and by the back band, I mean the band that normally would be at your back. So if you're facing this way in the rack, which is the way I have my rack set up, this is going to be your back band. Your back band is going to come through here, and then what you're going to do from here is you're going to lift it up to the bar. And then once you get it to the bar, it's going to look like that. So the entire contraption, as I take my camera and move it each time, so there's your setup. Pretty nice and simple. Okay, and then you're going to pull it up to the edge of your bar right there, and you're going to want it here on the inside. Okay, and then that way you can slap your plates on. So you should always do your warm-up sets with the bands on, first the bar, then the bands, and then throw your straight weight on as you need it when you're warming up. Okay, this is going to be the band setup for the bench. So what you're going to do is it's not going to be the same setup as the squat. So all speed work on bench is used with a mini band, long mini band. Again, you can get them from EliteFTS.com, and you're just going to run one end through the back, just like you would with your squat, except instead of going between, both ends are going to come up to meet the bar. So I'm still using my safety squat bar here as an example because I'm being lazy. So then you're going to have your band set up so it looks like that. Again, it's on the inside of the collars. Okay, this creates a much higher amount of tension for the band than if you just looped it through the back. You wouldn't be able to get enough tension. And I've actually seen some people take their small bands and just put them around both dumbbells and take them to the top. That's also doable if you don't have the long bands, but to be honest, if you don't have these long bands, you're an idiot because they're really cheap and they last a long time and they have more use than just the speed bench. So that's how you would set up the bands for the bench. Okay, this is how you're going to set up your bands for the deadlift. You're going to take both of your bands with the same color, whichever ones you use. It's going to depend on how much you deadlift. These tend to work rather well for me, the short lights. But you can't get up into the bigger bands. That usually falls in with more maximal effort work, unless you're a big deadlifter. So I pull around 500, a little more. So just to give you an idea, if you're a conventional puller, you're going to have them both inside, as obvious. Step inside each band, and then take your position, whatever, come down, pull. Sumo stance is going to be the exact same, except you're going to take your sumo stance. So I have this up in my rack, so it may not work as well. But take your sumo stance, feet out, feet still in. Everything else is the same, just pull against the fence. Then when you're done, you can take them off, or you can even slide them to the side if you want to finish without doing other stuff without them. Alright, so after you get your band set up for the squat, bench, or deadlift, then it's going to come down to your programming. If you're using it for speed work, what typically happens is you're probably going to do from 8, 10, 12 sets on squats. You're going to do sets of 2. Bench is usually going to be anywhere from usually 8 or 9 sets of 3, and then deadlift typically ends up being 6 sets of 1. And then for percentage wise, it's going to vary drastically on each individual. As long as the bar speed is fast, that's what matters most. Don't get caught up too much in percentages. Look at percentage ranges and play around and see what works best for you, and then apply it that way. That way you get the most out of your speed work. Because if you're a faster individual, you'll be able to do something completely different than someone that's a slow individual. So make sure you take that into consideration. Also, if you're raw, I would say not to probably use a box on your speed squats. But if you're in gear, definitely use the box for your speed squats. When it comes to deadlift, that tends to get rotated around like every other week or every 3 weeks. It doesn't seem to be kept around a lot. And then for speed bench, it's typically a weekly thing, and that's if you're following a typical Westside program. But you can also check that out from the Westside Barbell Book of Methods. That's the best place to find out what happens, or even better yet, find someone that's trained at Westside and they can tell you what typically went on there. There's also tons of articles on EliteFTS that will tell you what some of those guys did when they were in Westside and what tends to happen and how they implemented it. But ultimately, it comes down to you and what works best for you. And once you find that out, then you can implement it the best way you can. If the bar feels slow, make sure you're using the right amount of band tension. I can't stress that enough. The band tension is what's going to be key. So someone like me is not going to go and use a super strong band and try to do speed squats with it, because it's going to be too heavy for me to be able to accelerate as fast as I possibly can. So, but at the same time, I also don't want to use a mini band on my squats, because it's just I'm going to have to load up too much actual bar weight, and then I'm not going to get the compensatory acceleration from it. So therefore, it defeats the purpose. So again, go to EliteFTS.com, check out the bands, get you a starter pack if you don't have any already. Also check through the articles and even look through the training logs, and if anything else, ask them on the Q&A, or until my Q&A is set up, you can message me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or on my blog at brandsmitley.com. Thank you, and have a good day.